Mobile phones are great. We can keep in touch like never before, and they're an amazing getaway to all sorts of useful information. But here's a statistic that's not so great. People who use mobile phones while driving are 4 times as likely to crash. That's right, you're 4 times as likely to get in a wreck when you use your phone while driving. And since nearly everyone who drives has a mobile phone, the number of people tempted to engage in this risky behavior is huge. In fact, according to the federal government, about 9% of all the people on the road are talking on their mobile phones at any time during the day. The results of a recent AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety survey showed that more than 2 out of 3 drivers admit to talking on their cell phone while driving. Worse yet, 1 in 3 say they do so pretty often. Clearly, talking on a phone while driving is a widespread danger that needs to be addressed. People need to know the risk. Education is the key.
The National Safety Council did a survey in 2014, and we found that 80% of people mistakenly believe that hands-free is safer than handheld.
Multiple studies have shown that hands-free devices provide no safety benefit whatsoever. Both cell phones and hands-free or voice control features in dashboards can be distracting.
Some research has found that activities like voice texting can be even more distracting than typing a text while driving, if you can believe that.
And the devices give drivers a false sense of security. The reason for this is something called cognitive distraction. We might think our brains can multitask, but your brain actually can't process 2 demanding thinking tasks at once. Instead, your brain will switch back and forth between 2 tasks. So when you talk on your cell phone or try to do voice control tasks like voice to text, your brain must switch between the conversation and driving. Your brain prioritizes activities, and as scary as it sounds, the drive can actually become secondary. Drivers can also experience what is called inattention blindness. It's sort of like tunnel vision. You're looking out the windshield, but your brain isn't processing everything. For example, a cell phone distracted driver might be looking through the windshield, but not see a red light and not realize they have to stop.
The most important things to know are hands-free is not risk-free, and that even using some features on the dashboard can be distracting.
So do yourself and everyone else on the road a favor. Hang up when you drive, and urge your coworkers to do the same.
Distracted driving is not the only type of distraction we need to avoid. We also must stay focused when securing passengers with a mobility device. As professional operators, distractions are an everyday challenge that we must overcome to provide safe, excellent customer service. In this video, we will talk about refraining from any distractions, performing critically important tasks such as passenger assistance and securement. To minimize the chance of being distracted while loading the passenger, limit your conversation with the passenger to any of the questions you might have about securing their mobility device. You still need to be courteous and polite, but try to stay focused on proper securement of the mobility device. Never stop to do something else when you are in the middle of securing the passenger. If you do, you could risk the chance of skipping a step and forgetting an important part of the mobility device securement process. Make sure you give yourself enough time and take care of any potential distractions before you start to secure the passenger. While in the process of securing the mobility device, the passenger may want to conversate with you as you secure them. But again, make sure you stay focused and secure the passenger properly. If you have not collected the fare and the passenger is trying to give it to you while you are securing them, politely let them know you will collect it after you safely secure their mobility device. Do not let your mind wander to where you become mentally distracted and are not focused on what you are doing during the securement process. After a while, securing a mobility device could become a routine task. However, it is very important that you do not become complacent and make sure you are securing the passenger safely and securely, and double-check your securement steps. If you encounter other mobility devices that you are unfamiliar with, ask any questions necessary to the customer to understand the device so you can provide them safe, reliable, and enjoyable trip. If you have any additional questions or are in doubt about the best way to properly secure the device, call your dispatch or supervisor for additional assistance. Keep in mind that for all mobility devices, the same rules apply and are required for optimal safety and securement of the device and customer. A 4-point securement system to a fixed location on a device is required, and the customer should be strongly encouraged to use the lap and shoulder restraint. As a professional driver, you must be able to stay focused in all areas of the vehicle operation and not become distracted, not only during your trip, but before when loading and securing passengers, as well as after when you assist them getting off to their desired location. Remember, be courteous, follow securement guidelines, and when in doubt, contact dispatch. We hope you found this information helpful, and thank you for being a safe, professional operator.
From across the street, the images are enough to stop you in your tracks. But just imagine being 11-year veteran driver Donnell Maxley behind the wheel, looking out his rearview mirror and looking again.
All right, we gotta get off.
Maxie saw this, the fire starting and engulfing the entire back of the bus in mere seconds. As other drivers tried getting his attention too, his split-second decision.
All right, we gotta get off. Everybody get off. Why? Get off, it's a fire.
Even more dramatic, the rescue. A Milwaukee man in a wheelchair helped off by the driver, a passenger, and another Good Samaritan who rushed on to help.
Somebody out? Come on, I'm coming.
All the passengers safely off in a mere 23 seconds. The Milwaukee County Transit System released the new video Friday after a 3-week investigation. Officials believe a small hole in a hydraulic hose leaked vapor onto the hot engine and ignited.
This was an incredibly rare event that happened, an unusual sequence of events mechanically that led to this. We've never seen anything like it. Other transit companies haven't seen anything like this.
A professional operator anticipates and avoids emergency situations whenever possible. Although emergencies, by their nature, can sometimes be unavoidable. When an emergency does strike, you need to be able to remain calm under the circumstances and take quick action to avoid or minimize danger to yourself, your passengers, and your vehicle. The responsibility of the operator goes beyond driving the bus. The operator is also responsible for the care and protection of customers. Your passengers will depend on you for help and guidance during any emergency. There are 7 basic steps to emergency management. Step number 1, remain calm. You need to breathe and think. Step number 2, assess the situation. Understand the situation. What type of emergency is it? Who is affected? How severe is it? What risks does it pose? Next, determine the severity of the emergency. And lastly, plan a course of action. Step number 3, protect people, then property. Remember, you are the leader. Protect people from injury first, then prevent further damage to property second. Step number 4, obtain help. Call dispatch. Notify dispatch immediately. Be ready with information to request appropriate assistance, such as police, fire, or medical. Step number 5, reassure and assist your customers. Reassure your customers so they will stay calm and will follow your directions. Step number 6, secure the scene. Take the necessary steps to prevent further damage or injury. And lastly, step number 7, gather information for appropriate incident reporting. In the event of an emergency situation, remember that you are the captain of the ship and must act as the authority until help arrives. If you are involved in an accident, even a minor one, stop the vehicle, remain calm, turn on your emergency flashers, and engage the parking brake to ensure the vehicle will not move. Here are some steps to remember if you are involved in an accident. Step number 1. Calmly get the attention of your customers and explain the emergency. Give clear directions and urge customers to remain calm. Follow your instructions and stay seated unless an immediate evacuation is required. Step number 2. If an evacuation is required, ask a customer to stand outside the front door to assist and account for other customers. Step number 3. Ask another customer to lead all remaining customers to a designated location a minimum of 100 feet away. Step number 4. Call the dispatcher on the radio if safe to do so, or call on the phone, or ask a customer to call. Step number 5. Secure the scene by putting out triangles and gather information. Vehicle evacuations. The decision to evacuate a bus must never be taken lightly. In most emergency situations, it's normally safer for passengers to remain on board. You should not evacuate the vehicle unless it is absolutely necessary. However, there are situations where you will need to evacuate the bus immediately to protect the passengers from harm. If there is an immediate risk, evacuate the bus. Evacuate if the bus is on fire or serious risk of fire, including smoke. If any part of the bus is within 14 feet of a railroad track. You must evacuate if the bus is stalled or stuck in an unsafe location, such as on a railroad track or in a location where a high-speed impact from another large vehicle is likely. Evacuate if the bus is in a dangerous position on the road where it could get hit by another vehicle or tip over. Evacuate if you smell fuel or toxic fumes leaking into the vehicle. Evacuate if you see leaking fuel coming from underneath the vehicle. Evacuate if the bus is in water, such as a lake or river, or in danger of going in water. Evacuate if there is a specific threat from a passenger. Evacuate the bus if you suspect that a bomb or other weapon of mass destruction is on the vehicle. And finally, any other unsafe conditions that would make it unsafe to stay on the bus. Remember, if a decision is made to evacuate the vehicle, evacuate as quickly as possible. Once a decision is made, speed is of the essence, especially if there is a threat of fire. And always evacuate upwind of the vehicle. Prepare to offer customers with disabilities additional assistance. Remember, the lift will not operate with the engine off. You may have to cut or remove customer restraints and leave mobility aids behind. You may have to carry or drag a customer with a disability from the bus. Ask other customers for help if necessary. Securing the scene and helping customers exit the bus should be your highest priority.
A violent confrontation on a city bus today in Montebello. The trouble started when a passenger in a wheelchair asked another man for some space so he could get off the bus. KCAL 9's Dave Lopez shows us what happens next.
It's 12:40. A Montebello city bus is headed down Whittier Boulevard and stops just past Gerhardt. Suddenly, a man in a wheelchair is being hit by a man on the bus. The bus driver calls 911, tries to stop the fight. Passengers scramble off the bus. One calls 911, so do I, and you can hear this man screaming and cursing at the top of his lungs.
What you want, mother? You want to jump in with me?
The man in the wheelchair was bleeding. He told me all he wanted to do was get off the bus, and he asked the man to please move and give him some space. The man who was yelling said, "No one touches me." And off the bus, he was still screaming.
He's in a wheelchair, you don't put his hands on me.
All right, relax. Take it easy. Take it easy.
You and anyone else.
All right, take it easy.
Don't put your hands on me.
All this happened on the same bus line, on the same route, and at the same corner where on Monday morning, this man, on camera, leaned over and stabbed a student who was on his way to East LA JC. That stabbing suspect is still on the loose. And so is this man. who, after he was yelling and screaming, and the bus company called for a second bus to get the passengers out of the area, tried to get on that bus and was kicked off. He didn't hit anybody else, but he threatened to, and shortly after that, he walked across Whittier Boulevard and disappeared. Sheriff deputies arrived 20 minutes after the initial 911 call was made, but by then the man was gone, and he still hasn't been found. As for the man on the wheelchair, he told me he's okay. He was treated on scene, transported to another bus, and left. From East LA, Dave Lopez, KCAL 9 News.
Security awareness. As a driver, you must remain alert to unusual or suspicious activity on and around your vehicle. When it is appropriate to do so, you must take action in a timely fashion and enforce our security measures. If you see something that seems out of the ordinary and potentially hazardous, it should be immediately reported to dispatch, who will take the appropriate actions and/or notify the appropriate authorities. Threats of violence is something we have to look out for on the bus. Violence on the bus may include verbal abuse, physical assault between customers, and sexual harassment. Be aware of customers that are under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Also be aware of customers that are angry or respond angrily when greeted. There are steps to remember when dealing with violence on the bus. You should stop the bus. Ask the person to stop the violence. Call the dispatcher and request the appropriate assistance, such as police or medical. Encourage the person to escape by opening the doors. Have the person removed from the bus, even if they stop their violent behavior. Remember, if the person stops the violent behavior, continue on your route, but be sure the police meet you and remove the person from the bus.